Kamala Harris absolutely destroyed Republicans and Donald Trump for attacking women's reproductive freedoms. Now, this came at a reproductive freedom roundtable, which the White House has been holding nearly every single week to try to remind the American people, hey, look, like, we're trying to protect you. Those monsters are coming for you. And so this video is super important because this message is going to be the message for the 2024 Biden campaign. It's also going to be the message for the 2028 Harris campaign, because that woman is running for president in 2028 and it's going to be a cakewalk for her. So stick around after this clip. We'll talk a little more about that. This is Kamala Harris absolutely destroying Republicans, unafraid to say, look, you're the ones responsible for the attack on 150 million women, and we're not going to take it anymore.
Freedom is fundamental to the promise of America. And what we saw over a year ago is the highest court in our land, the United States Supreme Court, the Court of Thurgood and RBG, took a constitutional right that had been recognized from the people of America, from the women of America. And since that ruling came down, we have seen states across our country, thankfully not Michigan, but states across our country proposing and passing laws that criminalize doctors and nurses. Some provide for prison for life, for healthcare professionals providing reproductive care to their patients. We have seen laws being passed that make no exception even for rape and incest, which means these so-called leaders who are extremists are telling a survivor of a crime of violence to someone's body, a survivor of a violation to their body, that they, that survivor, have no right to make a decision about what happens to their body next, which in my opinion is immoral. We know that on this issue, the American people, the majority of American people agree with the leaders at this table, by the way, which is that one does not have to give up or in any way abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree the government should not be telling her what to do with her body. If she chooses, she will consult with her priest, her pastor, her rabbi, her imam, but it should not be the government telling people what to do with their bodies. And what we have seen on this issue is, over the course of now a year and almost a half, people who are suffering every day in our country as a result of this. So not only is it about freedoms that have been taken and what that means in a country that prides itself on being a democracy that upholds and fights for freedoms and liberty, it means that in states across our country, people have been suffering. And we must be explicit about what that is, because this is not a hypothetical point. Women have been having miscarriages in toilets in our country, have been denied access to emergency care because of what has been happening, and then, as the governor said most recently, putting access to IVF at risk. Think about that. Individuals, couples who want to start a family are now being deprived of access to what can help them start a family. So on the one hand, the proponents are saying that an individual doesn't have a right to end an unwanted pregnancy, and on the other hand, the individual does not have a right to start a family. And the hypocrisy abounds on this issue when you also consider that in the top 10 states with maternal mortality, there are abortion bans. I have often challenged the folks in those states who propose to say that an abortion ban is in the best interest of women and children. Ask them, why have they been so silent on an issue like maternal mortality? Where in our country, black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die in connection with childbirth than other women. Native women, twice as likely. Women in rural America, similarly, more likely. So this is an issue that is about fundamental freedoms and liberty, and it is an issue about harm, real harm that is happening to people every day in our country. And one must then ask, well, okay, how did this happen? And I would say, ask who's to blame. And I'll answer that question. When you look at the fact that the previous president of the United States was clear in his intention to hand-pick 3 Supreme Court justices who would overturn the protections of Roe v. Wade, and he did it. And that's what got us to this point today. And that same individual, the previous president of the United States, then openly talks about how he is proud of what has resulted, proud of the fact that doctors and nurses can be jailed for giving reproductive care, proud of the fact that women are being forced into situations where they could literally, their life is at stake in terms of having a miscarriage and not being able to have the medically required treatment, proud of the fact that so many young women in America now have fewer rights than their mothers and grandmothers. So this is a very real issue, and I thank again the governor and the Michigan legislature for all you have done. But do understand, the people of Michigan cannot sit back and take comfort without also understanding that elections matter and that there is a full-on concerted effort to pass a national ban, which would mean the people of Michigan would not be as safe. And so let's understand the connection between all of these issues and the responsibility and the role that we each have to protect these fundamental freedoms and the people of America to be able to make decisions about their own lives and the future of their family.
I love when Harris points out the hypocrisy of the Alabama IVF Supreme Court ruling. She's like, look, if you want to start a family, they're going to try to control you. You want to stop a family that could potentially ruin the rest of your life? No, they're going to control you. These Republicans are going to continue this assault. Doesn't matter who's the president. In these Republican Supreme Courts and state houses across the country, they're going to continue this. I mean, they don't really have much to run on. So this is like a wedge issue that they're just gonna, I mean, they're gonna milk it. And who else better? Who else better from the Democratic Party than Kamala Harris, who a minority woman who could stand up and say, look, we've had enough. We've had enough. And I think that message is gonna destroy Republicans in general elections from here on out. Now, she was in Grand Rapids. She was in Michigan. Sitting at the table with her was Gretchen Whitmer. Now, I personally want to see Kamala pick Gretchen Whitmer as her VP. I think that would send an amazing message to the world saying, look, this administration stands for women's rights. We stand behind women. And I also think a bunch of Democratic representatives and governors, females, should announce their presidency, their presidential campaigns as well, so that women can just flood the Democratic side. I think that would be really cool. I think that would be symbolic of the progress that we're making and who the Democratic Party is, who they represent. But yeah, let me know what you think. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I mean, I can't wait for a Harris presidency. I think that's gonna move the measure on a lot of issues, especially women's rights, considerably. So thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me this far. If you haven't yet subscribed, do that, and I will see you in the next video.